Hi, my name's Simon, and this is a hung, beautiful Swiss-made, very modern instrument. This is the ding. This is called the goo, and you can actually get a really nice kind of percussive noise. But these are tone fields, I think, is the generally accepted parlance. Actually, I've read a few of the tuning documents, and they're actually referred to as cathedrals by the time that they're finished. And this is whole kind of esoteric background to the thinking that surrounds this instrument. You know, this scale. It's actually this is unique to this particular instrument. The unusual set of notes on this particular instrument do make jamming, not necessarily more difficult. It's just a different kind of a challenge. You know, I can't necessarily sit down with a group of musicians and play covers, but I think the nice thing about it is that it encourages a real focused listening attitude when you sit down to jam with other instruments, and it really suits spontaneous play. And I found every time I sat down with other musicians on, perhaps not every time, but a much higher proportion of the time, you find that you get a real conversational piece of music that comes out of it. And I think that's a real joy. I believe the story goes they had a percussion player visiting their workshop. This was when they used to still work with steel, but they'd made steel pan, and he started playing percussively with things around the workshop and found an untuned pan shell, so it was a hemisphere facing upward, and started playing on it and said, oh, that sounds interesting, and they went off and fetched a second hemisphere and created something that I don't believe it even had a hole at the bottom there, a goo hole, but something that had a chamber inside it, and started tuning out the notes. And they refined that process over years of research and turned it into what was now known as the low hung. Actually, the second generation was a time of real experimentation for pan art. I've seen quite a few second generation hungs, and they're all really unique instruments, and it's really wonderful to experience as many of them as possible. Even this particular one has a very balanced sound to the notes. Some of them, the lower and higher harmonics, ring out far more powerfully than even the dominant note, and you get a really ethereal, kind of quite frightening almost effect where you're not quite sure where the note's coming from. The newest version, I can only imagine, will be a further step forward. Yeah, I mean, there's a definite community. There is an event every year called the Hung Out. It happens down in the south of the UK. I went this year. It's a really beautiful weekend of just constant jamming. Everyone brings all their own instruments. You had probably maybe about 50 or so hung, as the plural is. It's not hungs, it's hung. And yeah, it was just brilliant fun and a really strong, trusted atmosphere.